Hello everyone, this is Pedro with Cinemilled, and in this video we are going to balance a EVA-1 with a PL mount on a Ronin-S using our Cinemilled Ronin-S counterweight system. As you can see here, I'm already holding it, and I'm going to jump right in here in a few seconds. But the intent of this video is not to literally show you how to balance the camera, but it's really to give you a better insight into the Cinemilled counterweight system and what happens when you move weight around and when you move it down here where you have to add over here. So there's a lot of like sort of a domino effect on if you add a weight here, you got to add a weight there. And anyways, let's get into it and you'll understand what I'm talking about. All right, guys, so you saw me quickly put this together. We did a little time lapse there, but basically what we got here is a EVA-1 with a PL mount with a Sigma Art PL zoom at 18 to 35. It's actually much heavier than like an EF mount Sigma lens. And then we also got a focus motor. So kind of replicating the kind of setup you could have on here with our counterweight kit. So what you'll see immediately that's different than when we had the GH5 on here is that we have a XL counterweight right here and a 2-inch weight. So immediately just on the rear weight area, we have a lot more weight to get this to work. The other, of course, since we have more weight in that area, we need to add more weight to the roll axis, because as you're adding weight to the rear, in this case, it's also displaced to the left. You need to counteract that. So it's a cascading domino effect of counterweight. So as you see here, I think with the GH5, we only had 2 1-inch weights. So here I had to add, there's 5 1-inch weights. And if you notice, I stacked 2 of the 1-inch weights together. And that's because I actually needed a little bit, it was leaning to the left. And so, and I needed counterweight. I had the counterweight here. But when I moved it here, I sort of trimmed my side-to-side roll balance. This is a great example of what I was explaining before on, like, you can take a weight from the bottom, move it to the side, and it actually has a beneficial effect on what you're trying to do. Now, the reason I have so much counterweight here is, once again, I could have probably moved this camera further back, but the reason why I didn't want to do that is I wanted to retain a full tilt clearance so that we can retain the use of flashlight mode and 360 roll, the whole point of why you're using a Ronin-S. So one of the things we did here that's different than when we had on the GH5, the Panasonic EVA is a little taller than the GH5. And so on the riser here, we had to add the extension tube. So this one goes up taller, and if I had a top cheese plate on the EVA, this would also even go higher. So, but in this case, I removed all the cheese plates that I normally use, because I'm trying to make this as light as possible. And of course, the top plate also has plenty of places to mount all sorts of different things, like the rod support that I'm using here. The top cheese plate, bridge plate over here, you see it's got lots of mounting positions. Now, we did think of mounting the rod support right to the front like it is on our dovetail. The problem, though, the reason why we didn't do that, and the problem you might encounter if you try to do something similar, is that when you adjust the fore and aft of the camera, when you're sliding the camera forwards or backwards, this is why this is a round tube, is that the angle of this plate is going to change, right? It's pivoting off the securing bolt. So this is actually going to do this when you move the camera back, and it's actually going to do this when it moves the camera forward. The end result is the front face of this will not be parallel to the lens, usually. Like right now, it's actually a little bit behind. In certain cases, like the previous build I had here with the GH5, this was actually pretty straight across because we had a cheese plate on the top of the camera, and I could hop over to a hole where it would line up straight. But what we did is there's a center hole on our rod support, and so I mounted it vertically like this. And this allows me to change the angle of the rod so that the rod is actually straight even though the plate is crooked. So that is a little bit of a challenging aspect with using the rod support. It is only one bolt, so you do, once you find the right position, you do have to crank down on that really hard, or else when the motor moves it might twist the rod support. And so that's a little different. But the most important part is we are balanced. So whenever we let go, it stays. It's moving a tiny bit. I'm not gonna obsess over it. That's close enough. You could keep balancing until you get it 100% purpose. For the purposes of this video, I just wanted to sort of get it close enough to where it worked. As you can see, it's just sitting here. It's unpowered, and you can put it off axis, and it does stay there. If you increase the angle, it's going to move a tiny bit. See, there it is. Remember, it's so lightly balanced that if I touch it, it might feel like it's unbalanced, but it's because it's in neutral balance. It's pretty well balanced. We still got full tilt clearance, which is the goal. I mean, there's other ways you can do this, stacking weights underneath the camera, and the problem you run into is then you don't have the tilt clearance, which means you can't do the 360 spins in flashlight mode, or you just can't do flashlight mode, which defeats the purpose of using the Ronin-S. You probably should just be using a Ronin-M at that point, or another gimbal. And in this configuration, there was still enough adjustment in the pan axis that it is balanced. So you can see here I'm leaning the Ronin-S forward and it's not moving. Once again, the only reason why I might use a pan weight is to adjust the length of the arm and get the lens fairly nodal, and actually the lens is almost nodal right now. Here's another example of a very big payload balance on the Ronin-S. But as you can see, it does take a lot of counterweight. Once again, we got 5 1-inch weights on this side. We got a 2-inch weight and an XL weight. That's quite a bit of weight. Obviously, this whole rig is very heavy. I'm not so much worried about the weight. You could use a support device. Some of you guys are using Steadicam arms. There's lots of different solutions out there. You could use a Ready Rig. We're coming out with a solution so that you can use the Ronin-S with the Ready Rig. And then we have our little arm assist. It's still very sporty. You can whip with it. And it's still got the full clearance, right? And we can tilt up. And we can tilt down. Alright guys, so that gives you a good overview of the Cinemilled counterweight system for the Ronin-S. As you can see, you have lots of options on where to put weights, and you can move things to give you the clearance you need to do the things you want to do. Options usually means complication, so it's not a straightforward system. It's not for novices. I do hope this video gave you a much better understanding of how things interact with each other and how one counterweight affects the next one, and where you place this one, and if you can move this weight, what it gives you, what you gain in another area. So it's all about doing that. It's sort of moving weight around to give you the adjustment of and the clearance you need in a certain area. So it's a lot about experimentation. So if you do hit a wall and you're having a problem, you can try to call me, but honestly, over the phone, it's going to be very hard for me to help you and diagnose your problem. So what I would suggest is going on the Cinemilled users group on Facebook. I'm always very active on there. There's also a ton of other users and Cinemilled customers on there that can help you out with your problem. Sometimes I'm not able to reply to a question for a few hours because I'm running around or whatever. And so in the meantime, a lot of other people can help you out with your problem. If you're having any sort of what you think is a manufacturer's defect, as always, you can go on the cinemilled.com website and open a support ticket. But your best bet if you're having a challenge in using the system and balancing is to maybe make a video and post it to the group. And that's probably the best way, because just typing it out sometimes it's really hard to explain the dynamics of what's happening. It's really hard to see what you have going on with the build and stuff like that. So do help this video though sort of shed some light on the different areas and the way things interact with each other. That's pretty much it, guys. Like, comment, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram, because that's where we first post all the new news regarding new products, releases. Instagram is a great resource because we post a lot of customer photos on there. You can see the different builds on there, how many weights they were using and stuff like that. So that's pretty much it. I hope this allows you to use a Ronin-S in a more professional cinema setup and achieve the shots that you got hired to do. So, all right, guys, I'll see you on set.